And we back. Now, yesterday, 2K dropped the first official patch / update of NBA 2K21. And in yesterday's video, I was telling you guys how 2K has this reputation of dropping patches and leaving it up to the community to figure out what the heck was inside the patch. Well, today, to jump 2K21, they gave us patch notes immediately. Shout out to 2K for doing what every other gaming company in the world pretty much does. Congratulations. Now, in these patch notes, they talked about a few different things. They talked about my career, general fixes to the jump shot meter and things like that, but none of that is super relevant to what we build here on this channel. We're here for Myleague / MyGM mostly. Well, believe it or not, they did address some of the issues that we have talked about. Now, I'll leave the link in the description to the entire patch notes in case you missed and you care about the My Team fixes, whatever it may be. So here we go. When it comes to Myleague / MyGM, 2K share content talking about draft classes, players, and rosters should now properly function when accessed. So we can finally bring in our draft class is something that we've been wanting since launch. It took a little bit of time, but what's done is done. We can finally get that. Now, the second bulletin point is what this entire video is about. When 2K21 dropped, one thing that they said about Myleague / MyGM, the only one difference that they incorporated in the mode was this boom or bust system. And the way I had interpreted it is that in some Myleagues, you may see Zion Williamson blossom into the best player ever, and you may see some Myleagues where he just does it and he just never, it's boom or bust. And so far, through the first 2 weeks of me playing 2K21, I have not seen any boom or bust. But this is what the patch notes say. Tuning improvements to player progression based on community feedback. Ladies and gentlemen, we are community, so our voice is being heard at least a little bit, or maybe they just tricking us. Either way, with our new boom or bust system, player progression and regression has been completely rewritten for 2K21 to provide a level of dynamicism. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Again, I dropped out, but I think I'm saying that right. Such that players will follow different career arcs and different playthroughs. That's exactly what we were just talking about. In some Myleagues, Zion, it turns out to be the GOAT. In some, he just ends up being an okay NBA player. But through the first couple weeks of me making these videos and playing a bunch of Myleague, I haven't seen it. I talked to other creators that play a lot of Myleague. Nobody has seen it. So I'm hoping that with this patch, we'll see way more boom or bust. So today we're putting on our white lab coats and we're becoming scientists because we're doing an experiment. Be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you are new, if you want daily 2K content. Look at all the people in the comment section below. They will 100% agree that you should subscribe because there's no community better on this platform. Subscribe, trying to hit a milli. So today we're doing experiments and this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to spend the next couple hours because brother got nothing but time, and I am going to simulate 3 years into a Myleague. I am going to record players overall and then restart and see if those overalls are different, and I'm gonna do it over and over and over until we have a bunch of data, or some people may say data, to try to see how often this boom or bust system happens. Now originally I just wanted to look at some of the young players in the league, like the top 5 young players, like Ja Morant, Zion type guys. But I talked to my girlfriend about this experiment. Yes, she contributes to this channel. And she's like, why don't you look at everything? Because you don't really know. We may see a 30-year-old player that starts to regress earlier in some simulations. And in other simulations, he may be an Iron Man type player. So that's what we're doing in today's video. I'm going to be simulating and y'all are coming along the ride to see how things are different 3 years into the future. So the first thing, we have to figure out what settings we're going to play on, and it's going to be very simple. I'm going to leave everything the same except for turning off injuries, because I don't want injuries to be the reason why a player doesn't progress. So these are the things we're playing on. Regression and progression rate will still be on 50 throughout the course of this entire experiment, and I'm going to select one team, put everything on automatic, and simulate a few years into the future and just see what overalls are. Now, this is one of the main reasons I stopped going to school. I hate doing experiments and stuff like this, but this is for the community because I haven't seen a single person try to figure out this boom or bust system, and I'm doing it for us. I'm doing it for everybody. So I'm gonna have to document our status and everything, our attributes and things like that, and that's gonna take way longer than the simulation. But for y'all, it ain't much I wouldn't do. All right, y'all. So this is year 1 of run number 1, and well, what I'm gonna have to, oh my god, we have players jumping up 5 overall spots, players dropping like Al Horford, Ersan Ilyasova, some of the guys. So what I have to do now, oh my God, a lot of changes are going on to the rosters, is document all of the changes we've seen after 1 year. Actually, what I decided to do is to not track the overall until the end of the overall run. So that means at the end of year number 3. It doesn't make sense to kind of track the overalls right now because, again, they will fluctuate. So I'm going to go to the end of year number 3. And why did I pick 3 years instead of 1 year? I'm giving 2K a little bit of a breathing room to allow their system to kick in because they didn't specify how long it would take to kick in. So I'm just going to go 3 years and let that be the case. Okay, y'all. So year number 3 just wrapped, and Laptop Kenny is here to document everything that happens here in player progression. It's going to take a long time, and I realize I'm going to have to do this 1,000 times for some really accurate data, but it must be done. What makes this documentation period suck is the fact that everybody's on new teams now. How the heck did Mo Bamba and Kobe White end up on the Bucks? What world is this? This whole team is completely different just 3 years down the line. And is that realistic? I don't really like this whole team, except for Chris Middleton. There's not a single current Bucks player on the team. Their whole roster got thrashed. All right, I mean, it just makes documenting this information just a little bit more tough. Wow, look at all the work this guy is putting in for this video, and you're trying to tell me it doesn't deserve a like? Man, leave a like on the video. Show him some love. I mean, this has nothing to do with this experiment, but somehow this guy jumped up 15 overall spots. He was not a draft and stash guy. He was undrafted. And I think this probably has to do, this guy probably played G League. This guy probably played G League. He's 23 years old. And if that's the case, the G League simulation thing is still completely broken. Let's see what it has to say about his social media. Nothing really. I'm going to document this because this is actually important. This guy jumped up 15 overall spots. And because of that, I'm going to go next season to see what happens to him. Another ridiculous one here. Wallace Battle jumped up 22 overall spots. Another guy that went undrafted and came into the league, has not played a single minute yet. Undrafted, probably G League, and then signed a 4-year, $123 million contract and jumped up 22 overall spots in one offseason. So what I'm going to do to test this theory is take over a team that has a young rookie like this guy and send him straight to the G League to see if that was the reason those two players had that big of a jump. And also, while I was doing all of this research and putting in this data, one thing that crossed my mind is, what if the boom or bust system is only for future draft classes? Because 2K has already decided the career arc of the current players. So boom and bust could possibly just be for the future draft classes, because there's a potential that what we just saw in those two players jumping up as much as they did is the boom aspect of the boom or bust. Dude jumped up 22 overall spots. That is insane. All right, so let me go to player progression and see what happens to the guy. Christopher was his name. Something Christopher. I don't know. Interesting. So I'm going to go to OKC to talk about this guy. This is the guy that, no, it was this guy who jumped up 22 overall spots in one season. And then the other guy, and here he is. He played for the Heat last season, and just this year, he jumps up 1 overall spot. So what did we find out in year number 1 or experiment number 1? Nothing. Other than there's some way that we are seeing players jump up 20 overall spots in some situations, and that could potentially be our boom or bust system. And now we're heading into run number 2 of our experimentation, and I'll see y'all in a sec. The run of number 2 is officially ended, and it's time to go to player progression to see if there was any changes between run number 1 and run number 2. And I'd be able to tell you right off rip, I got all my data, baby. I feel like I am back in school. And just by looking at it, these top guys, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, are all the same overall as they were in the previous run. But again, this boom or bust thing might not be about them. It might be about the younger guys like Matisse Thybulle. So checking up on Matisse Thybulle, in the last run, he was an 80 overall, and now he is just a 78. Interesting. So right off rip, we are seeing some changes in the overall, and I'll let you know. I'm going to go through all of this again, and see if there's anybody else, or is it, that's just a one-time thing. Okay, so the biggest change I've seen so far, and again, it's not that significant. In the first run, Jason Tatum was a 95 overall at this point, and now he is just a 93. So he didn't progress as good in one sim as he did the other. So we are seeing some kind of change here, but I don't know if we would classify it as boom or bust. Next one is Jaylen Brown, and the last one he was a 90, and in this one he is just an 87. So these two superstars, young superstars, if we want to call them that, on the Celtics are not as good as they were in the previous sim. And one thing that I did see in the previous sim is the Celtics won a championship. And this sim, they have not won a championship. So maybe that is the determining factor for them not hitting the 95 overall or the 90 overall for Jaylen Brown. Now, this is a big one. Lonzo Ball in this sim ends up being an 86 overall at this point. And in the previous one, he was just an 83. Again, just small 3 to 4, 2 to 3 jumps. But an 83 versus an 86 is a lot different. Those little 3 actually matters a decent amount.
3 hours later.
All right, y'all, it is significantly later in the day. I spent 3 hours, I want to say, doing this experiment, and while I was doing it, I took my hair down, so expect me to rock a hat in the next couple videos until I get it redone. Y'all want to see the numbers? Here they are. Okay, so this is the thing. These are the ratings of the 5 test runs after 3 years. And the main thing I can take away from it, it's nothing. That's the takeaway. Sure, every single year can be just a little bit different, but it's nothing dramatic. It has not been boom or bust. So here are just some of the players that I thought could be interesting. Again, I did it for every single NBA player. One thing I did notice is that, like, if you are a lower tier player, you usually just got the same overall every single year, and it kind of defeats the purpose of the boom or bust thing. In my eyes, the boom or bust idea was something that could be cool if we had somebody that's normally a role player jump up into stardom. If we had a Pascal Siakam type thing in real life, Pascal Siakam went from a rotational player to a starter to win most improved player, and then to an all-star in a whole 3-year span. And in this, it never ever happened. We never seen anybody that's a rotational player be more than that. We never even seen somebody that was a rotational player jump up to like a good starter. But I did highlight some of the numbers that I thought were interesting. For example, we had a year of Lonzo Ball within his 5-year period. One of the years he was an 86, which is amazing for Lonzo Ball. And then one of the years he was an 80. That is like the biggest jump between our runs, a 6 overall difference. So when I was going through these, going year by year, one thing that I did notice is that we never saw a player jump up more than 4 overalls if they were a real player, like real NBA players. But when we got to like the rookies, the incoming rookies, sophomores, all these generated players, I saw them players jump up significantly. We talking 5+. Y'all saw the guy jump up 22 in one offseason. So that's telling me, with the data we have here of nobody really going crazy and having boom or bust, that the boom and bust system might just be for these incoming rookies and not the set players that we have today. Some of y'all are probably gonna ask what this out is. This is Zach Collins. He had a career-ending injury. That's the first time I've seen that since like 2K18. He had a career-ending injury in our second run, and he was literally out. That was crazy. And then I talked about that Jaylen Brown year, the year that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, where's he at? They had the highest overalls that they had the year after they won a championship. But we also had a year that I thought was super interesting from Ja Morant, when he was sitting around 85, 83, 84. He had one year that was a 90. One year that was a 90. Then that made me think about, okay, if he had one year where he was a 95 and we had one year where he was a 90, I should look and see the statistics, right? Because the year that he was a 90, he should not have the same numbers or the same kind of impact. But here are the numbers. When he was a 95 overall, he put up 27, 8, and 8. Those were his averages. And as a 90 overall, he put up 25, 7, and 7. Very similar numbers. Both got him all NBA second team. So even when the overalls are lower than they were in previous runs, the impacts were pretty much the same. And you're probably asking me, Kenny, maybe 3 years is too small of a timetable. And maybe it is. So I went on to do a 5-year run, but this time instead of doing 5 runs, I only did 2, and the results were the same. So we didn't see any boom or bust. So again, it seems like boom or bust is not for the normal NBA player. But now I kind of want to test with the auto-generated guys. I can probably do this really fast and see how this goes. So what I'm going to do, if I'm going to create a draft class, not change anything about it, but I'm going to use the same draft class every single run, because that's going to be our control draft class. So I'm going to do the same thing, but instead of tracking Ja Morant, Zion, and Luka, these kind of guys, I'm just going to track the incoming rookies a couple times and see, hey, maybe they're boom and bust more than the real players. So here we go. I'm going to go new draft class, and these are our rookies. I'm going to save this, and we're going to use this as our... Oh, yeah, I remember this draft class. That's for a video that y'all going to see in a few days, probably. And this is our test. The same guys. I'm going to go 3 years in the future, 3 different times, and see if anything is... The game crashed. That's just so 2K. And I'll see if we have the same results than what we did with the real NBA players. After a few hours of simulating and punching in numbers, we finally found it. We found the boom and bust system. Now, basically, the conclusion I'm coming to from our 6 hours of recording and doing all of this stuff is that the boom or bust system, as of right now, doesn't really work on NBA players, but the future draft classes, it does. Now, you're probably looking at me like, Kenny, in what situation will we allow the boom or bust system to work, because we're not really loaded in the same draft classes? I don't know. I mean, I guess if you keep loading in the 2020 class, sometime LaMelo's going to be a legend and sometimes it's going to be trash. I guess it's a situation. Or you're going to have a situation where we, like I'll show in these data points, where like you have the first overall pick. This guy has a ceiling of a Hall of Famer and he just doesn't hit that. So this is what I did this time around. I had one draft class, same name, same everything. And I simulated 5 years into their career 4 times. I didn't go the 5th time because, brother, it is 3 o'clock in the morning. Can I get some sleep, please? I think I got enough data to really show you guys that this boom or bust thing is real. So I highlighted some of the outliers that I think prove the point. For example, this Nunez guy, he was a 3rd overall pick, or he was around there most of these sims. And most of the time, he's sitting around 83, 84, 85. But this year, he was 88. Then we have this Ferguson guy who was like low 80s for most of the time. Then he hit 86 once. This guy was sitting at low 80s. He hit 86 once. This guy was sitting at mid 80s and hit 90 once. And then you have the players like Knox and Young, who in my first simulation, 5 years into their career, they were out of the league. They were done. They were trash. And then the rest of the sims, they turned out to be solid rotational players at 78s and things like that. Another outlier here is with this guy who ended up being an 86 and being an all-star. And then you got the bust. And like, this is the bust situation. This guy that was Wall, and a lot of the sims, he started at like 79, 78. But in one sim particularly, he was in low 70s and he was a free agent. Then you had this one. And this is my definition of the boom and bust shown in one player. Our boy Gaines here, he was the 18th overall pick, so he's like out of the lottery, and he still ended up being pretty good in a lot of these sims. 1 year he was an 86, 1 year he was a 76, and then 1 year, 5 years into his career, he was done with. So we saw boom, and we also saw bust. And then this one was the craziest one to me. This Morris guy spent a lot of his sims, well actually he just completely decreased every single year. He was an 85 the first sim, an 80 the second sim, a 75 the third sim, and then he was out of the league. I spelled this wrong. He was out of the league completely in the 4th sim. It's kind of insane to really think about. And same thing with this Jameis guy. He had a year where he was a 68 overall, and then the next time we simmed, he was an 87, then he retired 2 times, and that's similar to what we saw in the beginning of the video where the guy had a 22 increase in his overall in one single year. Well, that happened to Jameson and my sims. Did I just spend 6 hours of my life doing something that majority of people don't care about? Yes, I did, but I'm sure there are some people out there that really wanted to know about this boom and bust system, and I think we found out where it works and where it doesn't work. It sucks that I had to spend this much time when 2K can literally tell us how it works instead of just saying boom or bust. That would be great. Either way, hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna go get some sleep, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.